Marriage equality is important because I'm a lesbian. I'm in my 50s. I have seen the impact that it has had on people to say, you're not a person in God's eyes, that your behavior is somehow sinful, you're somehow broken, you're wrong, you're deviant. And the fact is for 35 years I've tried to fix something that's not broken. I'm not wrong. Marriage equality for once is about the church standing up and saying, I hear my people crying. I hear them asking for liberation. I hear them saying, enough is enough. 20 of my last 35 years have been working with people in terminal illness and living with AIDS. Not as a profession, as a personal impact. I buried 2 brothers. I've buried many friends in recovery. And there's been a common theme that has hit me that I've often wondered how the people of the church look at it, because I don't have a degree in divinity, I'm not a pastor. People in terminal stages have looked up and have said, I have been cast out, I've been marginalized, I've been on the perimeters. The impact on people who spend their entire life with the emotional damage of thinking they've been excluded because there's something intrinsically evil and wrong about themselves. And we, the church, we church people have told them that. What if we're wrong? As a Methodist, I believe the unity of love will open the doors of equality.